Okay, good morning, afternoon, evening, and welcome to this first episode of NRTS Battle School. This series is intended as a learning resource for players getting into NRTS who find maybe it's a bit challenging to play well, but you do enjoy playing the game and would like to get better. The topic of this first video, and we'll have a decent bit of time here as I'm going to be making units. I'm doing this in real time, so we're going to farm up, make some militia. The topic of this video is that when to fight is often way more important than how you end up fighting, right? I see a lot of players that will get into this game and have the impression that micro is like the be-all end-all in the game, and I will admit micro is pretty important in this game, and it's extremely difficult to do. Your only real commands you can give units are move and stop, and they have to do everything else themselves. They don't stop moving when they're shooting like in a lot of other RTS games, so spacing becomes like really difficult and you have to do it all manually, and like trying to work with command line and then holding G to keep your formations, and all that stuff leads to the impression that NRTS ends up being a very micro heavy game, and some even have the impression that micro more than anything else is what wins your fights. Again, I'm not here to deny that micro is really important in your game, and you should at some point get familiar with how to comfortably move your units around such that it's not a bottleneck for you going forward. But if you're just starting learning the game, I would argue that like splitting I don't know if splitting hairs is the right phrase, but concerning yourself with learning god tier micro before you learn fundamental aspects of the game, like, is this fight one that I even should take, right? Or is my opponent in a situation where they cannot afford to take a fight, right? Those sorts of things are pretty important to discuss. So first off, just as a demonstration, for taking fights, I understand a command center is ultimately your goal in the game, and it's not the thing that you're going to be fighting most of the time, but it does shoot back, and I don't currently have somebody to demonstrate this with me. So for demonstration, this will work fine. You'll notice I'm sending 3 militia towards the command center, and you might be like, Leafy, you have these guys here, why wouldn't you send them all? Just for demonstration's sake. So say you have, you're super early in the game, you've got your 3 militia, and you want to kill this command center. Heck, you're even smart. You don't want your militia shooting at workers. You know that units in this game shoot at the thing closest to them. Okay, more militia while we're waiting. That way we don't have to wait around for forever. You know that units only shoot at things that they're close to in this game, and so they'll shoot at the command center if you're closer to it than to the workers. Awesome, cool. So we've got our 3 brave militia, and we are micro gods. We are going to make sure that every single HP on these militia is worthwhile. Now, I understand as well that you can do farm tricks, right? So it's not like there's literally no way to dang. It's not like there's literally no way to kill a command center with 3 militia, but yeah, so with pretty good pullback micro, keeping my militia on the brink of death, all firing, 3 militia got this command center down about to 3/4 of its HP. So we killed a quarter of a command center with 3 militia. Okay, well obviously striking at the opponent with 3 militia trying to kill their command center is not a great idea, right? And anyone who's played NRTS for a decent amount of time might understand that is naturally true, right? Of course. Even say, and we're going to use different command centers for these since I want them to be at full health for demonstration's sake. Say we get to the first house, right? So we start with 10 population, 2 workers, so that means that before we make a house, we have 8 militia on the field. This is a very common amount that you're going to see through the early game just because it's a natural roadblock. You might be at 8 militia for a minute or 2 at the beginning of your match if you are making militia, which I would strongly recommend. And this principle will apply to pretty much any force, right? A simple knowledge of, you know, do I even have enough units to do the thing I'm trying to do, micro being perfect or otherwise, that knowledge will help you a lot, right? Again, we looked at 3 militia, and despite my best efforts spending all of my attention on them, I could only kill a quarter of a command center with them, and that's the best case scenario, right? If we compare that to 8 militia, we're just gonna walk these guys into the command center, not gonna care too much for their safety. Might pull back the first guy, then just kind of let the other guys fight. I mean, it's not a beautiful fight by any means. Right, I'm losing a whole bunch of guys, and man, you know, this probably could have been a lot nicer. We lose 5 militia, but we kill the command center. Right? Could that fight have gone better? Yes, but the point is with minimal attention already, I have gone from, you know, maximal attention. I'm paying attention to every single unit. I'm pulling them back as best I can to, I just kind of walked them up to the command center and made sure they could all shoot it. And you see the results, right? A quarter of a command center dead versus the whole thing dead. That principle applies to basically every fight that you could take in NRTS. Micro makes your fights better, but it doesn't make your fights, right? So, and you could say the same things with, say you're fighting units, right? Fighting chopper versus tank anti-air, for example. Super complicated, super dangerous. It's not a comfortable fight for you to take, and then the tank player is basically hoping that you won't end up taking it. But there is a certain point to which you're like, okay, I have enough choppers, I could just brute force their anti-air, and then their tanks are dead, and or I have other units that can help me. But the question for should you engage the opponent should not be, is it theoretically possible for me to maybe take a fight where I don't lose all of my stuff? It should be instead, is it possible for me to take this fight and it be good? Like, and by good I mean you are destroying more value than your opponent's getting destroyed, right? Can I take this fight and it be a good one with minimal effort? Because if the answer to that is yes, then basically no matter what you do, you will take a good fight, right? We want to make the job of winning this game as easy as possible. Fights aren't necessarily the be-all end-all in NRTS. There are more important things, but fighting is something you're going to have to do at some point. I would stress to you, say, like, look, I've got now 19 working on 20 militia out on the field. And we'll see, like, I'm not even going to, heck, I could have these guys in, like, a ball formation. Just all together, a pillar of militia. Some of these guys aren't even going to be shooting the command center, but when I walk them over to Yellow's command center, you'll notice it doesn't even matter. And they're going to take their sweet time. But the whole thing that I would recommend improving upon when you're a new player is making your life as easy as possible, because there's a lot of difficult things to do in this game. Again, think like your super intense chopper micro, you're like keeping on top of your workers, making sure that your build is as tight as possible, just barely having enough defense to survive an attack, etc., etc. All of that stuff is really difficult. The last thing we want to do is put ourselves in a position where we need all of our brain power for one tiny little thing that is relatively insignificant. And right, again, we see 20 militia in a ball formation where the guys at the back here just aren't participating. We got bullets flying through the command center, and it doesn't even matter. Only lost 3 militia. Command center's dead. And I could have gone and made myself a sandwich in the meantime, right? I did not have to do almost anything whatsoever except just have my command center going, have my workers doing their thing, not lose my militia in the meantime. That's another important aspect. But if you're choosing not to fight the opponent, say that there's like a ball of militia over here and they're really scary and they've got about as much as you, but you know, you don't want to try it. Your militia are going to be valuable in numbers, or say you're looking to get a vehicle depot out soon. Losing your militia formation by attempting to fight the opponent off of your territory might not be as valuable as just waiting until you've got this tank here making militia all the while, right? And it might read as stalling if you're if you're particularly new and you're not familiar with the strategy. But you don't have to fight everyone who says, "Fight me, coward," or who, like, parks their army in a place that's dangerous to you. Like, oh no, but, like, what are they doing? Right? If they thought they could kill you, they would walk forward. They can't kill you. They're probably just looking to poke and prod, especially if there's towers up. Especially, we can go into that perhaps in a different episode. But yeah, say we've got our light tank out now that is trying its best to be stuck. Joy. And now suddenly, while the opponent had a militia formation that they were massing on my border, I've got a militia formation that's massing on my border as well, and also a tank. And we're gonna try to put the tank in the middle here. Right. And don't even have to really worry about how clean the formation is besides that, because now I've got a tank and some militia, and that's really good. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to fight the opponent at their first urging, and more than that, it can often be a good decision if the opponent isn't destroying your farms, especially if they're not destroying your housing. Right, if you've got 8 farms and you've still got housing in the average game, maybe in a 1v1 it's a bit different because you have only one opponent and there's the same amount of farms on the map. I digress. If you've got 8 farms and you've still got your housing, I would just chill. It's a lot easier once you get into the part of the game where you play rock, paper, scissors, where you have tanks, anti-air, choppers, maybe you've got some healing on the map. It's a lot easier in that case to take winning fights, because how many choppers wins against infinite light tanks? Okay, 1. Provided there isn't any anti-air, of course. How many anti-air wins against choppers? It happens to be 1 anti-air against about 2.5 choppers. So for every 5 choppers, 2 anti-air, we'll just shred them. You could probably get away with less, but I wouldn't push it. But then tanks can beat an infinite number of just anti-air by themselves, because the anti-air doesn't shoot back, right? So once you start playing rock, paper, scissors, it's super easy to take those fights where you don't really even need to think. You just push your stuff forward, right? If the opponent's got way too many choppers, you just have some anti-air to escort your army, and they can't do much about it. You keep your anti-air around where their choppers are. But yeah, TLDR in this whole episode, I hope I have made my point at least decently clear. You want to make this game as easy as it can be, because it's not easy by default, but it doesn't have to be hard, if that makes sense, right? We can make things super simple by starting to think, okay, do I fight or do I not, for example? Am I making units? Am I making eco? You can do both at the same time, etc., etc. And the majority of this series is going to be finding ways to simplify this very complex game. And now we'll see that with light tanks and some militia, of course the command center dies, right? We had more militia than we did to kill yellow. But, yeah. Yeah. I shall conclude this episode by just diving more CCs, because it's fun. I don't know, worker was not building a farm. I'm washed. Yeah, I would like to know your questions, comments, or concerns, and if you have an idea for how the next NRTS Battle School lesson should go, please do inform me either in the comments or in the Discord, or however, and I will make a point to cover that topic in the future. Yeah, blue's dead. Man, we lost even less militia than we did at yellows, with less militia. Crazy. But yeah, don't focus so much on micro. Micro is something that'll come with time. When you're just starting out, just learn when a fight is good, and then take the fights when they are. You might find that it could be a couple minutes between you finding an opportunity for a good fight. Could be that during a game it's just difficult to find. That's okay. Just practice looking for those opportunities, and don't force yourself to fight the opponent always. That will conclude today's lesson. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and remember to stay classy.